What's going on, guys? Cudi with this video, and then today we're going to be talking about a brand new album that came out a few weeks ago, and it's something that I was looking forward to reviewing, and especially with all of the things going on in his life and all the things that he's going through right now, it definitely does intrigue me and this artist and this album as well. And so we're going to be reviewing Passion, Pain, and Demon Slayin by Kid Cudi. So if you guys couldn't tell, I am again sick a little bit under the weather, but that's not going to stop us. You're going to go right into this review, and we are reviewing this album right now. Now, going into this album, honestly, I wasn't sure what to expect because like historically, I have never been really the biggest Kid Cudi fan. I was a big fan of his hits like Day and Night and stuff like that, but I was never really a full-on Kid Cudi fan, and I never really actually explored one of his albums. So I was very much kind of like a laissez-faire kind of whatever fan of Kid Cudi. But going into this, I really did want to give it the chance just because I was hearing that his past few albums, again, which is another reason why I was kind of hesitant on touching this album, was that his past albums were really bad, apparently, allegedly. I don't know, I can't say from my own standpoint, because I never listened to them, but for just the overall criticism was that his past albums prior to this one were very, very bad, except his very early one. So like, he was really good apparently, and then he got really bad, and then now he's back to being really good. So it's a weird thing, but hey, okay. And then we go on to this album. Now, this album has the backing of him being in rehab right now, going through depression and all stuff like that. So this album, has very much those elements that you'll see throughout the album as well. This album has a lot of really, the title of the album, his passions, his pain, and him slaying his demons. Like getting rid of the bad in his psyche, if you will. So throughout the week, I've been, just listening to this album constantly. And if I was to give one theme to this album, it's that it is exhausting, right, is what I would say. And that's not really in a bad way. It's not really in a bad connotation. You can construe it in a bad way, but honestly, I don't really feel that it is really a bad thing in a way. It is just a lot of the same things. You'll hear a lot of the same sounds, a lot of the same styles of singing, and we could talk about style whenever, but just a lot of the tracks sound very similar to each other. And that is neither here or there because, a person that really loves Kid Cudi's style, like loves it to like, a really high degree, they will love this album because, there's a lot of the same things throughout all the songs. And, if that appeals to you to a higher way, then you'll love it, obviously. But for I feel like maybe the average listener, like the average person who's not really, that into Kid Cudi, but, to a degree likes him. Like now, after this album, I definitely do like Kid Cudi more than I did prior, right? Because prior was kind of like oh yeah, Kid Cudi, he's cool, whatever. But going into this, I really do now, leaving this album, really do like Kid Cudi as an artist now. But for someone kind of like me, it was kind of like on the edge of fan and not really a fan. It can be a bit repetitive, and that's what I felt as well. I felt like it was exhausting in a way that it was just kind of the same things over and over. But not the exact same things. You guys know what I'm talking about here, yo. You guys know, if you guys listen to this album, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here, where just a lot of the sounds sound very similar to each other, and over time, as you listen to it, it gets a little drawn out, it gets a little old. But overall, I will say this album is very good because there's a lot of times in albums, right? There's a lot of times in a lot of artwork where you'll have a very, very big catalog of something that you're gonna listen to, or if it's like a long movie, right? A lot of times it'll be a bunch of bad scenes and some good scenes, right? Or and then like those two balance out, and we'll call it an okay movie, right? But with this album, there isn't really ever really a bad song. There's not really a song that I hate. There's not really a song that I want to skip necessarily. It's just there's a lot of pretty good songs and then really great songs. So if we average that, we get a pretty good album. And also with a lot of albums we've seen, throughout the channel and throughout, just albums that have dropped recently, we'll see a lot of albums that have kind of a dipping point. We'll have an album that, is very good for the half length, of the first length of the album, and then, we get through like the halfway point and it kind of dips, you know what I'm saying? And we get that a ton of times. We get it a lot here in this day and age in albums, but with this one, honestly, it equals itself out. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of songs where it's very, very good, and then we get to like a kind of worse song, but not worse by a lot. You know what I'm saying? By just like a pretty good song. So overall, we get a pretty consistent sounding song in terms of quality and terms of likeness of the actual song. And the really good songs as well in the album are also spread out across the entire album. So it's not like, the first half of the album dominates over the second over the, end half of the album. I feel like, all of the album, of its halves, of its parts sound very, very good. And there are songs within every part, every, kind of half of the album that, rise above it and that, is really, really good and that are exceptional songs. For example, the beginning track, we got Frequency. Again, a very, very great vibey song. And then we go to track 2, we got Swim in the Light, which is one of my favorite songs, you know what I'm saying? Oh, and Swim in the Light also really, shines a lot on, his current mood and, him being in rehab and him dealing with depression. And really he does, you would expect him to dabble in it, a lot in this album, but it's not really that prominent. Like it is definitely there, and there's definitely, parts where he clearly, details like, all right, this is what I'm feeling, whatever, but, it's not an overbearing thing. It's not something that's going to be very much a repetitive theme in this album. It's very much, only here and there a few times, and that's it, you know what I'm saying? And so obviously, that is the case because he even said in his Facebook post that this album was made prior to him going to rehab, and the album was already done, you know what I'm saying? And so maybe those elements weren't as enhanced or weren't as brought up in discussion in the album because it wasn't as prominent in his life at that point because he wasn't in rehab yet. But overall, it does touch it here and there, but it is fine. It's not anything that's going to be too annoying, too depressing, too whatever, and that's just what it is. And overall in this album, the album just sounds good. You know what I'm saying? It sounds good. It's a very, very great album. It's very nicely mixed, nicely crafted, nice and everything. And the one thing I will say about this album is that it is a perfect album to just do work to just write a paper, to just go on a drive, do a commute. Like for example, me, I've been going a lot to my university that I'll be going to in the fall, and going back and forth, giving admission papers, taking drives, looking at apartments and stuff like that. And this album has been perfect for those long commutes because from my house to the university, to where it's at, it's about 45 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And so it's a very it's a decent chunk of time to drive. You know what I'm saying? And having this album, having it be so just long and just have that same consistent flow to it, it's been great, and it's a nice vibey album, if you will. I know we use the term vibe a lot on this album, I mean on this channel, but this really does have vibes. It's just nice background music. It's nice music that you can just pull in the backgrounds and you don't have to pay a lot of attention to. You can just let the beat ride out. You can just let it do its thing while you do your thing, whether it be writing a paper or driving. And it is just the perfect way. It's a perfect album for just doing things that are tedious. Whether you're cleaning or filling out whatever you're doing. This album is perfect for that manner. Also, just real quick to just to highlight. For track 7, we have Rose Golden. Again, a great album, a great preface. But the girl that's doing the chorus is actually Willow Smith. Did not anticipate that. Did not even know that she, was making music, if you will. Didn't even know that. But just a little tidbit there. And then obviously the track after that, one of, if not probably my favorite song on the whole time, on the whole album, is Baptized in Fire with Travis Scott. Oh my god, that song is so good. That song is so good. And also, in 2016, I was also introduced, highly to Travis Scott, right? And so, we did that video about music and history where we covered Travis Scott, right? And I said in that video, because through my research, that Travis Scott, looks up to Kid Cudi in a lot of ways, and was a really big fan of Kid Cudi. And after listening to Kid Cudi's album right here, I don't know if this has always been Kid Cudi style. I'm gonna go back and listen to some of his old stuff, but you really do hear Travis Scott and Kid Cudi, and you hear a lot of Kid Cudi and Travis Scott, you know what I'm saying? So I'm pretty sure that Travis Scott is low-key want to be Kid Cudi, which is fine, which is completely fine. But it was really interesting to hear this album at first and think man, this really does sound a lot like Travis Scott. This sounds a lot like they both kind of borrow each other's styles to a real big degree. So overall, do I recommend this album to you guys? Yes, I do. Okay, this is great. This is this is a purchase album in my opinion. This is a very, very great album. It's very, very nicely done. There's also a lot of tracks that you can just kind of sit and listen to, or you can get up and, like, for example, Dance for Eternity. Like, that is straight up a nice dancing song. You know what I'm saying? It's just what it is. And like there's like a lot of different aspects to this album that you can fit with a lot of different things in your life. So I definitely do appreciate this album. I really do love this album. And Passion Pain, Demon Slayin, a great way to end 2016, a great way to end the year music wise, and it's just great album, good job, Kid Cudi. That is all I got. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, share all this down below in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and as always, I got you.